Hi, welcome to the Heritage Park Resident Relocation Meeting. I have a number of RHA staff here on the phone with me. My name is Katie Librato. I'm the Communications Manager. If you have received any emails from the Raleigh Housing Authority lately, that would be from me. So if you have any questions, need clarification, don't hesitate to reply to one of those emails. I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Housing Operations, Sonia Anderson.
Good evening, everyone. I thank you for your time this evening. You've chosen a good place to be. We're excited to share information with you. I'm also going to ask that each one of the residents find the chat box and let us know your full name. So we have record of your attendance in case we need to follow up with you. If you have a question this evening that we don't have an answer to, and that we know that you are here, because I'm going to have colleagues that are going to reach out to residents that are not in attendance at any of these meetings. So if you could find the chat box and type in your full name, and that's for our residents, if you would do that for us, please. Raleigh Housing Authority had a meeting last evening. I hope you may have heard something from your neighbors. It was well attended, and we're excited to offer this virtual option as well. I myself am commuting, someone else is driving. So this is absolutely convenient, and I'm excited that the Housing Authority is able to offer this for us. At this time, I'm going to turn over the meeting to my colleague, Ms. Kenya. She is going to share with you what her department is doing. I am the only person this evening from the Housing Operations Department, but my department encompasses anyone that works within resident service coordinating, anyone that works in our management offices, our maintenance, and our live-in staff that cover the emergency maintenance concerns. Thank you. Go ahead, Kenya.
Thank you, Sonia. Kenya Pleasant, and I am the Chief Real Estate Development Officer for the Housing Authority, overseeing all of the development operations for the agency. And I'm joined this evening by our Housing Project Manager, Rachel Agumbiade. She's also a member of our team. Do you guys want me to continue, or should I? And Laura, if you want to take a second, just real quick to introduce yourself, and then I'll go back in.
Yes, hi, I'm Laura McCann. I will be working with the relocation portion of this project. So you may have seen me. I've been around since 2012, but haven't seen you yet. It's just a matter of time, and I look forward to that as well.
Good, thank you. Like everyone has said, we're really excited that those folks that are on this call have decided to join us today. We had a really good turnout yesterday, and we're really excited about being able to offer some of these different meeting options. This is in response to, I think we've received a lot of feedback about flexibility, and as Sonia noted, she's commuting, and so this is a perfect example of how RHA is trying to meet the residents in the community where they are. We'll go in a little bit later about some of the other meetings that we're having in the future. But right now, I just want to start with and sharing this slide. I'm really excited about where we are in the process. We've made a lot of strides together in partnership with the residents. We've had a series of meetings, over 11 meetings since we started this process over the past year, really trying to be intentional in our engagement. And I think we now have a vision for the future for Heritage Park. And what you see on this slide on the right here is a reflection of that work that we've put in together as a team. And this is the result from our design workshop that we had in January, late January, where we engaged with community members and residents in getting real-time feedback. And this was something that we shared on January 25th with our residents. And if we go to the next slide, please. this is just an example of where we started into where we are today. So for those that have participated in this process, thank you for your participation. And if this is your first time participating in one of these meetings, welcome. We've made a lot of strides, and this slide here shows exactly where we are in this process. We're now at the point in the process where we are going to be going for what's called our HUD Section 18 application, now that we have a redevelopment plan in place. Next slide. If you have participated in some of the previous meetings, you may have heard the Section 18. If not, this may be your first time hearing about Section 18. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background and a little insight as to what does this really mean and how does that impact you as residents. So the Section 18 is an approval process that we must go through to HUD, and it allows us to dispose or transfer Heritage Park. I think some of the feedback that we've received in the past is that we're selling Heritage Park, RHA selling Heritage Park, and we're getting rid of it, and we're no longer going to be involved with the site. And that's not true. This Section 18 application and this approval process is a means for us to dispose or transfer of Heritage Park. Under HUD regulations, it must be to a third-party entity, but RHA will still be the owner or control the site through either RHA directly or through an affiliate of RHA. And what does this process allow us to do? Once approved, it allows us to apply for vouchers for every occupied unit. And that will enable us to ensure long-term affordability for all of the current residents, and everyone's rent will continue to be based on and calculated based on income. We're not requesting any new financing from HUD as a part of this, but this Section 18 application does enable us to seek other funding for the purposes of redevelopment. Right now, the way that this site is, the condition of the site is such that we can't use federal money to rehabilitate the site. And so that's one of the reasons why we're here in general. And so this Section 18 application process allows us, again, we're not seeking new money, but it does allow us to be able to seek other funding for the purposes of redevelopment. Next slide, please. And so what does that mean? We have to give some kind of promise to HUD to show that there's a benefit to the community. And one of those promises that we've reiterated throughout this entire process and will continue is that we are going to have at least the same amount of subsidized units. So there are 122 units currently on the site. And so RHA is making a promise and a commitment that at least 122 units, once the project is redeveloped, will be subsidized, where rent will continue to be based on household income. In addition, we are adding unsubsidized affordable housing. So that redevelopment plan that we showed at the beginning of the presentation, through that design process that we went through, it's anticipated that we could build as many as between 550 to 900 units. So right now there's only 122 units on the site, and we're going to build anywhere between 550 to 900. So that's at least 4.5 times number of units as what's on there currently. And those units will be unsubsidized, but our focus is going to be affordable housing. It's going to be a range of income, so there might be some market rate units. And that's something that we haven't finalized in terms of what that mix is. But by and large, most of that's going to be affordable housing. Another commitment that we are going to make is that anyone that is a current resident who is in good standing will have a right to return to the property. And we'll go in a little bit more in terms of what good standing means and what those right to return requirements are. And then last but not least is that RHA is going to pay for residents for the relocation costs, reasonable relocation costs for residents. And I think one big change from some of our previous sites is that we're going to pay for people to move off-site because everyone will need to be relocated, but we're also going to be able to pay for people to return to the site should they choose to return. And I think with that, that is a good segue over to Laura, who is going to be heading up the relocation efforts for the agency.
Okay, thank you. So I want to talk about the relocation plan. So just to start this conversation, RHA currently has developed a relocation plan. It is out for public comment and review. This is a plan that we have put together based on what we have heard residents and stakeholders say throughout this process. But we absolutely want to include your feedback. We want you to read over it. We want you to let us know if there's something that we missed that is a new thought that would likely be included. This is a plan that we want to make with the residents, not necessarily a plan that we just want to make for the residents and provide without ample feedback. So the comment period is going through May 31st. With the effective date of June 1st, assuming there are no major structural changes to that plan. So to start this process out, I want to answer what are the big questions that we have gotten from our residents throughout this process. The first one is, do I qualify for relocation assistance? So in order to qualify, you would need to answer yes to these questions. I am in the United States legally. So if you're a resident, that should be an automatic yes. I am listed on a Heritage Park lease agreement. Again, that should be an automatic yes for our residents. I have made my rent payments as scheduled, or I am in a repayment agreement with RHA, with your property manager. That would be something you should know on a case-by-case basis where your standing is with your account. And I am not being evicted by my manager. If you can answer yes to all of those questions, then you should be eligible for relocation assistance. If you have concerns about any of these, I would absolutely suggest you talk with your property manager and let them know what your concerns are. You should have this information already, but again, your manager would be happy to follow up with this, help clarify anything that you might have about your account balancing. Next slide, please. All right, so what does relocation assistance look like? Okay, Katie, can you keep clicking this slide? Yeah, thank you. Okay. So what does relocation assistance look like? There are going to be two options for this. Option one is going to be a flat fee. That is what you're seeing right now. It's bedrooms 1 through 5 in front of you. This is what the fee is based on the Uniform Relocation Act at this time. So if you are, let's say, in a 3-bedroom unit, you would be getting a flat fee of $1,200 automatically in a payment. Now, your second option would be actual reasonable moving costs. Now, that could be more, that could be less than these amounts. It depends on what services you pay for. And it is going to be a little bit more work on the tenant side if you want to sign up for that, because you're going to have to do things like budgeting and keeping up with receipts so that when RHA goes to reimburse you, we know that what the amount is, what you have spent, and we can make sure that we get you that right amount back. But again, this is either or, one or the other for the actual cost amount. But while that might be the dollar amount that RHA would be providing to you, we're going to have a lot more help than that. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be bringing on a relocation team, staff members who are going to be doing case management for you and helping provide extra things. This is going to start the process with a resident survey so that we can start getting feedback on what it is that your household needs, and we can start that process of gathering the information. We're going to be working with you at looking for a new home, whether that is staying in public housing or whether that is going out with a voucher. You know, you're going to have to look and see where you want to move either way. So we're going to help you with that process. We're going to be doing counseling and advice services on that. And at the end of the day, residents are going to be moving into a home that is either the same fundamentally as where you are currently, or hopefully even better, which is what we all want for you all, is to be moving into better situations. That's why we're redeveloping. So you will absolutely be going the same level or even better. All right. We've got a hand up. Can you wait until a few more slides and I'll call on you, Miss Kiara? Okay. All right. So what are your options? Where will you go? You can choose another public housing community or site that Raleigh Housing Authority has. We have about 12 communities that you could go into, and they have anywhere from 1 to 5 bedrooms. You could be going to Section 8 using something called a tenant-based housing voucher. That is the housing choice voucher that you typically think of when you think of a Section 8 voucher. So you would be taking that voucher, you would be going and finding your own landlord, and then with that voucher, RHA would be providing the landlord part of the money, and then you would be paying your 30% like you do currently. Project-based voucher is another type of voucher program where you would be moving into a community that already has those vouchers in place. They're already set up for you, and Raleigh Housing Authority has been working hard to make those connections and helping provide those to landlords, specifically to help make sure that Heritage Park residents, when they come out, have as many housing options already ready for you in the plan as possible. And again, Raleigh Housing Authority staff is going to be working with you to identify where and when you are going to be going, what works for your household, what are you looking for, and how do we make that happen for you. No one will be losing their housing assistance because of this redevelopment. I just really want to reiterate that. No one is losing housing assistance because of this redevelopment. All of these options will still be based on your rent, or excuse me, based on your income, and they will all be for similar programs, if not the same program where you are in currently. So do not worry that us redeveloping this property is going to make you lose your housing assistance. Next slide. All right, and the other big question we've been getting is, can I come back? Absolutely. So the Raleigh Housing Authority has taken some steps to make sure that residents have the right and the opportunity to return. And that will be if that's what you want to do. We understand that moving is a big process. People may get comfortable where they are, but at the end of the day, we want you to have that choice whether you want to come back or not. So we've done a couple of things to help make sure that's a possibility for you. So we want you to come back. And how do we do that? We're going to open the waiting list for you first. So before the public gets access to putting their application in at the new Heritage Park, we're going to allow that waiting list to be open specifically to people who came out of Heritage Park. We're going to give you a preference, which is going to give you more status points on the waiting list, just to make sure that all Heritage Park families that came out are at the very top of that waiting list and have the first right to go back in. Additionally, we are going to help financially pay to move returning residents back into the community. This is not something RHA has done before. It's not something we're required to do, but we have heard that we need to be offering more in these relocation plans. And this is one of the ways that we're going to do that, is we want people to come back and not have that hurdle of having to pay for the move a second time. So we are going to help fund that move just to make sure that that doesn't stop anybody who wants to come back from being able to do so. Okay, so that those are the 4 big questions we have on the relocation portion. And I did see Kiara, you had your hand up. Did you have a question for me on that?
I did have a question, but I'll wait until the end because it may be answered. Because you already answered one, so I'll wait.
Okay. Well, I think that's the end of the formal slides. If you want to kind of go into another a Q&A session, if we have questions, or if there are other pieces that you would like us to, you know, dive a little deeper in on that you might want to know more about.
Okay. Well, I'm the assistant over at Heritage Park.
Mhm.
So today I did have a resident come in. They brought me a PBV interest notification letter that was mailed to them.
Okay.
So when bringing me the form, she filled it out. And she also asked about like reasonable accommodations. So is that something that would probably be addressed when she is assigned like a relocation specialist? When, trying to place her in a home, they'll probably find something for her that, that she's elderly, she's have a hard time walking, so she prefers like a downstairs unit. Is that something that probably, could accommodate her?
Yes, absolutely. So the first part with the letter from Section 8, yes. So I believe the Section 8 department is sending out letters to people who have already applied and are already on those Section 8 waiting lists and are ahead of the game a little bit. So
Okay.
that is the letter that I believe she would have gotten. And she should fill it out and submit it back. However, she wants to. I believe that the question on that is, do you still want to be on that waiting list? So she would need to answer that question and send it back. The second part of the question is reasonable accommodations. Absolutely. So we have at Heritage Park a wider range of people. We've got 1 bedrooms to 5 bedrooms, elderly, disabled. We've got big family units. We've got couples. So we have a whole lot of people on that site that are going to need very different and distinct units. So one of the things we're going to work with those residents on when we have the relocation specialist come on board is finding out exactly what that person needs. Do they need a flat unit? Do they have any type of accessibility issues where they would need specific, roll-in showers or anything that their household needs? That's going to be a lot of the questions that we start to answer on that one-on-one process so that we know the unit the resident is going into, 1, works for them, but 2, we want to set them up for long-term success. It would be up to the resident if they want to stay there permanently or not, but we want them to have that option and not just be placed somewhere for a short term just to make do. We want them to have a good option of staying and a good option to come back and let them choose what they want to do.
Okay. So the first step of the process would be for them to complete the survey.
Yes, absolutely. We have a survey on our website. It is on the Heritage Park News and then Stakeholders Event tab. There's a nice big button that Miss Katie's put out there for you. And we want people to start answering those surveys and getting the information back to staff. That will help us narrow down exactly what people are looking for so we can start really digging into those finer details and making sure that what we are identifying works for the family and making sure if there's any barriers, whether that's a need for transportation, a need to be by a hospital or a medical facility or an employer, that we're working through all of those things.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Laura, I just want to add a couple of things I think that would be helpful that I think were kind of missed in the earlier part of the presentation. I think one big part of this is timing, right? That I want to make sure that everyone is aware of. So this HUD Section 18 application is something that we are planning to submit on June 30th. And that normally takes anywhere from 60 to 90 days before we get approval from HUD. Once we get that approval, that's when we can officially start relocation. And so that's when the relocation process can officially start is, 60 to 90 days after that application submission. However, as Laura noted, we've been working really hard to establish partnerships with developers and creating as many opportunities for potential relocation. One of those partnerships that Laura noted was on the project-based voucher program. And so we do have some properties, and just to put it into context, I think we have, I don't want to misspeak because we don't have anyone from our project-based voucher team, but I think the plan is that we are hopefully going to be able to put out at least 100 project-based, 100 to 150 project-based voucher units in those partnerships with our developers. So that's more than for, you know, the current residents that currently live at Heritage Park. And we have some of those units which are expected to come online and to be available in the, you know, the next few weeks. And so we want to try to create opportunities for folks that may be interested to take advantage of those units, particularly families that may have children in school where it might be better for them to move over the summer. And so we're creating, you know, an early move option for people. And that is one of the reasons why it's so important for us to have these meetings, but we wanted to make sure that we got the relocation information out there, the relocation plan, I should say, as well as the right to return. And so we're going to allow those folks that may want to take advantage of those folks would be offered the same benefits as what we're offering for under the official relocation. And I think that's that's one big question that we received, I think, at the last meeting, is with respect to timing. I think I'm just trying to go back and recall, you know, some of the important questions that we had from yesterday and making sure that we are trying to incorporate that into today's conversation. If we missed anything, there is going to be yesterday's meeting minutes will also be posted. If there's something that we missed and you want to go back and see, all of that information is available and posted on our website.
Yes, I plan to have the minutes posted by tomorrow morning. We do have the slides already posted, and I should have the recording of yesterday's meeting a little bit later today. I left it uploading earlier.
I think another important point that was made last evening by our CEO, who couldn't be here this evening because he's traveling for business, is that our incentive communities are an option as well, our public housing incentive communities. And we are waiving the work requirements, and we are waiving the 10-year limit for those incentive communities. So that's a significant change from other relocation options that were given in the past.
Absolutely. That is one of the things that we have heard throughout this process that residents wished had been different. So that is a great example of some of the feedback that we've heard and how we've incorporated that into this relocation plan in an effort to make sure that we are being holistic and looking at this from all perspectives and honoring all families' wishes and how they want to be treated throughout this process, start to end.
And all that is documented in the minutes from the last meeting. So if anybody didn't catch that or wanted to share the information with someone, you'll be able to share those minutes. And I think I saw, Kiara, did you have your hand up a little earlier?
Yes, but it's okay. I'll just
Okay.
refer back to the minutes from yesterday.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, we're open for any other questions if anybody would like to speak up or raise their hand. And also, if you prefer to not have it, ask it publicly, you can put it in the chat just to me, or you're more than welcome to follow up via email, whichever is more comfortable for you.
That's a great point. And I'm going to go ahead and put my email address in these comments as well. So if anybody has comments they want to provide on the relocation plan, you can send those to me electronically and we'll make sure that we incorporate that.
All right, well, if there's no further questions, that's all we have on the formal presentation.
Oh, we
Again,
Oh,
go
we
ahead.
We did get one question. Residents
Oh,
can
thank you.
move summertime 2024. Yes, potentially. Again, that would go to that early mover that Kenya was talking about. It would be before the technical relocation process starts, but we want to make sure that that's an option. So that would be something the relocation specialist would be working with you on, but there is a good potential that you could be moving before the HUD approval comes in officially, if that's what you want.
Yeah, and I want to say that that is also going to be, dependent upon availability of units, but we are definitely trying to make that process sorry, we're definitely trying to make that a possibility for residents. And Katie, if you could real quick go back to the slide with the dates. We just want to make sure that everyone is aware. So we are going to have another meeting tomorrow at noon. That's also going to be a Zoom meeting. Same information that was presented last night and today is going to be at that Zoom meeting. But then we're also planning an in-person meeting on Wednesday, June 26th. That's going to be back at Heritage Park in the Learning Center. And then those focus of those meetings again is going to be focused on relocation and the Section 18 application. We are also planning a separate daytime office hours to speak with members of the development team specifically about redevelopment. More details with respect to time and location are to come on that, but those are going to probably be during the day. But just wanted to highlight that and make sure that everyone marks your calendars.
And we have a raised hand. Ms. Wanda, do you have a comment or question?
Yes, I'm currently on the waiting list, but my question is more not just for myself but for the homeless community, considering we have a homeless crisis, and I heard you say that you all are gonna rebuild 122 units. But the other extra units, considering we have that crisis, have you all thought about making the extra units to accommodate the crisis that we have with the homeless population first, before you all enter into accommodating a community who already has resources to housing?
No, that's a really good question. Again, I think that we're going to build 122 units, at least 122 units. And of those units, those are going to be deeply affordable units, right? So those are going to be subsidized units. So it could be that some of those folks served through those 122 units may be those that are transitioning from homelessness to permanent housing. Those could be permanent housing options should, some Heritage Park residents not choose to return, right? So we're building 122 units, at least 122 units where it's going to be deeply affordable. So some of those could be served through that tier of unit. And I will say, I think one other ways that we are, trying to recognizing the crisis and then we're trying to address that now is through some of our partnerships, right? So we mentioned the partnerships with the project-based vouchers. We are working with other developers who are more focused on providing services for folks transitioning from homelessness. And the reason why we look to do that through partnerships is because one thing that those organizations typically have embedded in part of their organization is services, right? So providing 4 walls is just it's a good start, but the service component that comes with that high needs population is really important. And that's something that we just don't have in place at this time here at the Housing Authority. And so one way that we look to serve that population is through those partnerships. And our strategic plan is also available on our website as well. And you will see that one of our big focuses as part of that strategic plan is really to be a really good partner and to expand our housing capabilities through partnerships with other organizations.
So you're saying the extra 123 plus will not be deeply the rate, the rent will not be deeply lowered for those who are maybe currently homeless or even needing public housing that's in public housing now.
To be honest with you, what that mix of the remaining units is has not been determined at this point. So again, we're just going through the approval process where we can then explore and to develop a more formalized plan from HUD. And so we haven't determined exactly what that mix is going to be, but it is our goal for it to be a mix of income so that we're not going to build a concentration of, 550 to 900 units of 100% subsidized units. I think that our goal is to have a range, and what that mix is exactly, we don't know, but we are committing that at least 122 of those is going to be deeply affordable with rents that are subsidized. That doesn't mean the balance of the units are going to be at market. One mechanism that we're looking for in terms of potential financing and development is the low-income housing tax credit, right? And so under that program, you have to have units, below 80% AMI and with an average of 60% AMI. So we might have some units that are at 40%, 50%, or 60%, and then some that are going to be at market. But that exact mix, we don't know.
Okay, that's our greatest concern, and I'm sure we already work, or I'm being homeless myself, have contacted those strategic partners, and so far from what we're facing, those strategic partners plans aren't everybody doesn't need a wraparound service. Everybody isn't on drugs. Everybody, everybody's situation isn't the same, and to come at it in that place. But different conversation, different day. But I hope that you all are open to realizing what we are going through as the homeless population and needing housing in this crisis versus what some strategic partner might be telling you who need us to be in their wraparound service so they can make some money. So just want to say that. But thank you.
Thank you for
We
your comment
appreciate you
and your
sharing.
question.
I'm sorry, what was that? I missed something. Somebody said something?
I said thank you for sharing with us, and we're glad to hear that. And I think Kenya at the same time said, great question.
Oh, thank you. Anytime.
Any additional questions, comments? All right. Well, we really appreciate you joining us. The recording will be available within the next 24 hours, and everything else that we have sent out so far, just continue to check our website. You can get there from rhaonline.com. There's some text that refers you to go to the events page or the Heritage Park relocation information page. And then I generally use a shortcut link in our marketing that'll also go straight to that events page. So
I think I see one hand. I don't know if that's the same from the same question. Okay. That must not
no
have-
other questions? Oh, go
Yes,
ahead.
this is Hua. I got a quick question for you. As far as the draft for the Section 18, um, I I was able to find it online. So people have 2 weeks to basically 2 weeks to review it and give comments. Um, do you have ways or resources to help them understand what is being written? Because not everyone is gonna be able to like fully understand the the things that's in Section 18 from their first read, and first time might take a while. So I'm just wondering like what ways are you, I guess, utilizing to help people better comprehend what is written in the application?
Yeah. You want to take that, Laura?
Yeah, so I just want to clarify, are we talking about the relocation plan that's out for comment or the Section 18 application for HUD?
This is what I find is a 20-page document
Okay.
that's on your website.
Mhm.
Let me just double check.
Yeah, so that'll be the relocation plan. And
Okay.
I will take that question. So I am happy to meet with anybody or have a phone call, email, however I need to go, if I need to go out and sit with somebody to go over it. Staff will make themselves available to meet and help answer those questions if there are people who are not understanding exactly what is written. Staff is available to help explain that. If there is any need for a translation service or anything from that aspect, we will provide translators at our cost to help make sure that we are putting that into whatever language somebody needs in order to make sure that they are understanding what's been put out. But we are always open to other suggestions if there's a need that you have seen or that you know of that we might have not addressed yet.
Okay. So I confused the two different documents. But if that was the relocation plan that you put on a website, is the Section 18 application also available for people to review by any chance, by the residents at least?
No, the Section 18 application is something that's in progress, and that's not something that's available for review. That's a HUD specific document that goes to HUD for them to review for approval. But at this time, I don't think there's any plans to make that application available for residents for review. I think what we've tried to do is capture what the key components are and the impact for residents. But if anyone has any questions about the Section 18 application, we'll take those questions and we'll respond. I see something that popped up in the chat about has the application been submitted? The answer is no. The application has not been submitted and it will not be submitted until June 30th. I hope that answers that question. Again, if there are any questions, further questions about the Section 18 application, we're more than glad to make ourselves available. As Laura indicated, similar to the relocation plan, to have any conversations. If you have a question, we will respond to all questions that are in writing. But we definitely are open to that. Let's see something else. I can't see it in general.
There's a question or I guess a comment. It's not really a question. I feel there should be a public comment opportunity to make comments on the relocation plan during a city council meeting. Laura, can you address that?
Yeah, so the city council doesn't necessarily have any part in the relocation plan. It's something we will absolutely share with them once it is adopted, but it is something that our board will be approving. And it is something that we have created internally. It's not a city council document or process.
And I think Thomas had a question that we may have addressed. Is the application open for review? The Section 18 application will go directly to HUD. It will not be a public document.
I think we have a hand raised as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead. Mhm.
Hi. I'm wondering, can you just explain, I guess I didn't really catch what the like what the purpose, the overall purpose of the Section 18 application is, and like what's like the significance? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, so the Section 18 application gives us approval, I should say. Once the Section 18 application is approved, it does a few things. One is it gives us the opportunity to use non-federal funds for the purposes of redeveloping the site. I think one big thing to note here is that we did a study, a capital needs assessment on the project. And based on the findings from that study, the capital needs are so significant that it meets the term, or what is defined as the HUD term, as obsolescence. And essentially that the cost of repairing the project is it far exceeds the amount of dollars that we get to maintain the property. And so we're not even allowed to use federal funds for the purpose of improving the project. So we really only have a few options that are available to us, and this repositioning program that HUD is one, and the Section 18 is a process. And so the Section 18 application is something that we're submitting to HUD that will enable us to one, dispose of the project to a third party, a related entity. So we will sell it to a third party, a related entity, for $1. And because it is below fair market value, we have to show some type of public benefit. And that public benefit is the 1-for-1 replacement, as well as the creation of additional units. The other thing that the Section 18 application also allows for is it allows for RHA to apply for tenant protection vouchers. And those tenant protection vouchers will be made available to current residents. And that is a way to maintain the affordability for those current residents. So as Laura noted, no one will be displaced. No one will lose their affordability, their subsidy as part of this redevelopment. And that's through that Section 18 application process. That's what the purpose of this application is. We can't do any of that until we go through this Section 18 approval process. I will also note that we have some additional information that is posted to our website, or will be posted to the website, for those that want to go in depth and look at all of the regulations related to Section 18. That information will be made available on our website. And again, if anyone has any questions, I will put my contact information in the chat. Please feel free to reach out with those questions.
And we have a question. Is this a RAD Section 18 blend?
It is not. This is a Section 18, what you may hear sometimes referred to as a demo dispo, but this is a Section 18 dispo application.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing no other hands up, we thank you all for your time. We appreciate that you took your evening to spend with us as we chatted through our little boxes here. And We'll continue to post information on our website. As Kenny mentioned, we've had lots of things that have popped up that we think are important to share. So just keep checking those pages. You'll see a new structure for it in the next few days. We're going to be trying to better organize the information that's there because it's getting a little bit long. We want people to find what they need. So really appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good night.